Hey lovelies, you're welcome back to Reviews and Recaps. Let's talk about Love and Marriage Detroit. Okay, so the argument continued from last week, and John was basically asking if Brandon could go to the club for business. And so, of course, we all know how Christina feels about Brandon going to the club. So Brandon starts talking about how he feels like he's being held back by Christina, and then everyone was like chiming in, and then he had the audacity to describe it like he is in shackles. I'm like, oh my goodness. That is just like, to me, that is like fighting words. How you finna describe that as shackles, right? I don't think anybody would want their marriage, their relationship being described as shackles, honey. So yeah, he definitely got that wrong. Well, he got a lot of things wrong, but that's just one of it, honey. Anyways, so Christina starts talking about how she doesn't feel supported or appreciated. She took a step back in her career for the children, to raise the children for 7 years. And this man wasn't appreciated. So my thing is, when she took that step back for 7 years, what was he doing? Because he sort of seems to always make it seem like Christina is the one stopping him from doing his work. Now, in the club, I personally think, I'm not sure what kind of business you can get done in the club, honey, with the music being as loud. And the last time they went to the club, what business did they get done? Nothing, right? I understand having showcases at the club, things like that, especially when you're a producer and you have artists. That's fair enough, right? But you saying you're having business meetings at a club, I don't know about that. But let me know in the comment section below if you guys disagree with me or if you agree with me, because I'm just very curious about that. Have you ever gone to the club to do business before? And ideally, if you're in that industry, maybe let us know if it's something that you all do. Let us know in the comment section below. Like, I know that people can go to the club, certain clubs, to network, right? But I didn't see him networking when he went with those guys. He just was hanging with his friends. So I don't know what networking he could have possibly done, in my opinion. Okay. And guys, I know a lot of people are like, oh, Christina is too much and whatnot. And yes, she may very well be too much. However, I think that woman is frustrated. I think that it is inappropriate for Anthony to be coming after her and her friend. I think that it is inappropriate that all these men are putting their business, their little 2 cents in this issue. If you notice, the women were quiet. The women aren't the ones trying to get in any conversation. It's the men that feel like they have to put their 2 cents, especially Anthony. Like, Anthony, you feel like you have to put your 2 cents in everything. You are annoying. Stay out of it. And then it's funny how you were the one that was inciting violence and starting this whole drama to begin with. And then you're now trying to get everyone to calm down. You should have thought about the fact that the event was your wife's event. And so no BS should have been going down. You should have shut it down ASAP. You should not have let it escalate at all. So anyways, Christina and Brandon were hot. The people were trying to calm them down. I was just like, that is so embarrassing. Did you see the other people at the table? They were looking like, what the heck did I get into? This is ratchet AF. And so now Christina and Brandon were walking home. What was interesting was that Brandon was acting like it wasn't a big deal. And this is the thing. It's like you talk to your wife anyhow, you embarrass her publicly, and then you act like it's not a big deal. Honey, if that ain't no big deal, I don't know what is. Which makes me think, what else have you done to this woman in private for you to feel like it ain't that deep? I was just like, nah, this guy has lost his mind. So Christina starts saying to Brandon that she feels like he uses her when things are not going his way. And I completely agree. It feels like his work isn't going the way he wants it to go. Instead of him to take accountability for how it is going the way it is going, he prefers to blame Christina. Christina this, Christina doesn't let me go to the club. Okay, she don't let you go to the club. What of the studio that you go to? What of other events during the day, other day events that you could go to network? Have you been to any of those? Is she holding you back from going to any of those? No. So what is your issue? It almost feels like it's giving me Brandon does not want to be in the marriage and Christina is the only one who wants to be in the marriage. Girl, sadly, you cannot be in the marriage by yourself. It takes two people. So unless he wants to be in the marriage, there ain't nothing you can do. Literally. Unless he is ready to be in the marriage and actually act right, Christina, there's nothing you can do. The marriage is given toxic. It has been toxic from the beginning of the season. I hope they get it together, but I don't know if I believe it is likely. In a way, I wonder if they're going to end up being Melody and Mattel of the season. So it's like, seriously. But anyways, let's move on. So Latoya and her husband were talking after the event, right? And so Latoya was upset about the event and she was like, oh, we can't do that. And we had movers and shakers in the room. We can't be doing that. And that she's going to have to talk to Brandon and Christina. There are apologies that need to be had. Girl, stop it. Your husband is who you need to direct this energy towards because he was the one that kept... It's like when there is a fire and someone keeps sprinkling gasoline. That's what he was doing. He kept doing it, little 2 cents. How can you demean someone and say that Christina has gone up and she shouldn't have friends like that? Do you know how ridiculous that is? Why are you getting involved in women's business, sir? What is your problem? So Latoya, if you need to be upset at anyone, please be upset at him. I wonder how no one checked him whatsoever. Not even Brandon checked him for that behavior. But Brandon doesn't check anyone. He seems to be in La La Land. The only person he seems to have an issue with is Christina. So he doesn't care if anyone is disrespectful to Christina. Doesn't care what happens to Christina. All he cares about is going to the club. At this point, that's all he cares about. And I'm just like, so honey, maintain and keep that energy for freaking your husband, okay? So I did like how Anthony then directed her to say, well, it shouldn't be about what people think or who's looking. They are going through a lot in this season. And so we need to support them. We need to support them. And it's surprising because that's coming from the person that started the ish, right? Don't get me wrong. I feel like Brandon and Christina have their issues. Anthony, just like I said, sprinkled some extra firewood in that fire, honey, to light it all the way up, right? But the truth is, they have their issues. Since day one, the marriage is obviously broken. They have issues to sort out, right? So, yeah, that is as clear as day and does not have anything to do with Anthony. But despite that, right, how is Anthony then being the one saying, we need to support them and blah, blah, blah. So Anthony got that one right, okay? Let's move on. Now, Kobe's parents came over. Remember, Kobe's dad is a pastor and Kobe's mom, I guess, first lady. So they came over. Kendall is so cute. Kendall is Kobe and Russell's daughter. She is so adorable. She is the cutest. Anyways, that's by the way. Let's move on. So Kobe starts talking to her dad and her mom about the fact that Russell didn't tell her that he was going to divinity school, and all of a sudden sprung it up on her, and it just felt like they were defending Russell. The mom kept saying, well, at the end of the day, God could put something in their hearts and then they have to do it. And I'm like, no one is saying they ain't got to do it. Of course, God comes first. You should do it, but you should speak to your wife. Give your wife some heads up. Do you know how annoying and disappointing and upsetting it is for your wife to be the last one to find out about anything? It doesn't make any sense. Why is your wife's mother and wife's father aware of stuff, but your wife isn't aware? It just kind of felt like they were just making excuses for Russell. So then the dad was then like, well, if he had told you, what would your response have been? And then she was like, yeah, she wouldn't have liked it either way. And I get that. But at the same time, that is not an excuse, right? Even if your wife ain't going to like something, at the end of the day, like you said, God told you to do something. So you stand in that truth, right? But you communicate with your wife. And what it sounds like, because Colby alluded to that, is that it is not just this divinity school thing. He does it all the time. He does not tell her about stuff. And also, if you guys remember, when he was talking about divinity school, and then she was like, is there anything else? Then he brought up the gym thing. So he has a pattern of doing this. So let's not be manipulative and make it seem like there isn't a pattern and he was just upset, or he just thought Colby was going to be upset and that's why he didn't say anything. No, that is not the issue. This is how he moves. He does things and then lets you know after the fact. That is a problem. This is your wife. You are in a partnership. You are in a partnership. It's the way they say, oh, even if the husband is the head, the wife is the neck. So the head cannot turn without informing the wife, without the wife being on board, because the wife got to move that neck. Right? So that is the way things should be done. You should have a conversation with your wife. It's the same way if God told me something and I know this is God, I'm going to do it regardless. But guess what I'm going to do? Honey, guess what the Holy Spirit told me? This is what he told me. This is how I'm feeling. And I really need your support on this one. I know the traumas that you faced with being a PK, and I'm not trying to get you into that space. We'll have to figure out and find a way that works, but this is what's on my heart. Simple. She could be upset, but she's going to come around, right? And then pray about it so that her heart will be ready to receive the information that you have, right? So if you're saying you're a Christian, then act like a Christian all in all and through, right? Okay, let's move on. So Anthony basically called Brandon to check in, right? And so Brandon starts going on about, he's really upset and he didn't think it was that deep, but then now he's over everybody. I'm like, who's everybody? This is the thing with you, honey. You have issues with people, but you don't say what issues you have with them. Like, to me, I feel the everybody includes the group. But instead of expressing that, you keep it very vague because you don't want to stand in your truth. And this is a problem. You cannot check Anthony. So that's why you're doing this, everybody. Because you felt some type of way, right, about Anthony. But instead of coming out to say, Anthony, you shouldn't have said that, bro. You shouldn't have brought up the club thing. You said nothing. Anthony, you shouldn't have been speaking to my wife like that. You said nothing. But then you're on the phone to this man saying you're over everybody. Who is everybody? Like, who is everybody? Please direct the energy to whoever it is you want to address that energy to. So he starts talking about the fact that he hasn't spoken to his wife since the whole incident, and he feels like maybe they're even separated. Who knows? So in this moment is when I decided that I might not like the ways of Anthony, but I like what he did on this occasion, okay? So in this moment, Anthony then starts saying to him, like, he knows he hasn't spoken to his wife or whatnot, but he needs to fix it. He's like, you need to fix it. You need to go get your wife. I'm like, ain't that the truth? Then he starts telling him about how he was in a dark place when he met Christina. And Christina managed to pull him out of that. And he was so happy and was so in love and all of that. And he needs to go get his wife. I stand a man that can correct and admonish his friend. Because if you think about Love and Marriage Huntsville for a second, those men don't correct each other. They enable each other. There's never been a moment of like, oh, wait, let me correct you. Let me tell you, you better do this and don't lose your wife, right? Or even when they do it, it comes across as disingenuous. But watching this man tell his friend, yo, go get your wife doesn't feel supported, right? Go get your wife, go help your wife, go and stand by your wife. Your wife is feeling the exact same way you're feeling. Don't lose your wife. I've never seen a guy on reality TV get another man together in that way, and I was so here for it. So then Christina and her friend Chelsea, her bestie, who Anthony and her were going back and forth last time. So Chelsea basically was saying that she needed an outfit for Christina. I take it that Christina is a fashion designer and has some sort of stylist. So she was like, oh, I'll figure something out for you. What do you like? Do you still want something body hugging, or do you want to try something different? So Chelsea was like, you know what? I'm open. I'm like, okay, girl. Cool. So they both then started talking about the event and how Christina started saying that she felt like the boys were coming at her, but no one was saying anything, and that she felt like Brandon did not defend her, and she basically started saying all the issues that have been mentioned earlier, right? So Chelsea is now saying, like, trying to figure out, so where are you and Brandon now? Are you guys good? Have you sorted it out? And then Christina was like, he did not come back home to the penthouse. And she's like, what? So Christina starts talking about the fact that she really wants to save the marriage, but of course she can't save the marriage by herself. She wants to save the marriage. She loves her husband and wants to remain married. But she cannot be in the marriage by herself. And I completely agree. And I also love how vocal Christina is about wanting to save her marriage, because I know that a lot of people don't come out and are not vocal about how they want to save their marriage. They're usually vocal about everything else, but they are not vocal about the fact that they want their marriage to work. And so I love how she put her pride aside and was like, yo, I really want my marriage to work. I really want to fix this. But of course, it is up to him as well. So I definitely appreciated that. It was nice to see someone being honest about where they are in their marriage. And so I really, really liked that. So let's talk about Latoya and Anthony. So they went on a little date, right? And so they were talking about how they go on a date at least once a month. I'm like, girl, once a month? Ooh, you guys better add maybe one or two to that, honey. But okay, if once a month works for them, once a month works for them. It's their marriage and it's none of my business. But I would prefer at least date night once a week, honey. Once a week is mandatory, honey. Like at least once a week. But anyways, we'll see if I feel that way when I'm married. So can we just talk about how gorgeous Latoya is? She is a beautiful woman. She just has this feminine, pretty, gorgeous look to her. Anyways, let's move on. So Anthony starts talking about the fact that, he's going to have to go back to Atlanta, needs to go and set up some things there. And he's like, oh, I know you don't want me to go there. And then she's like, I don't have an issue with Atlanta. The issue that I have is the fact that you left, right? You basically left me with the kids at a time where these kids were going through racism in school. They were boys. I didn't know what to say to them. They needed their father. I didn't know how to navigate that, right? People were calling the boys names at school. I didn't know how to navigate that. So she was feeling like she needed him in that moment. He was feeling like he needed to do something to progress his career. Now, I understand both perspectives. And it's one of those things where things like this really concern me in general, because sometimes when someone makes a compromise that involves losing income, that involves something that is dear to them, right? Most times they become resentful, especially if they've had to make so many of those choices. And I feel, this is my opinion, that Anthony is resentful of the fact that he missed out on this excellent opportunity. I feel like he is. And I feel like Latoya is resentful of the fact that Anthony left her with those kids by herself in COVID. So they are both resentful towards each other, right? And I think that is something that will come across in their marriage until they fix it. I feel like they keep burying it and sweeping it under the rug like it's all good when it really ain't all good. And I'm just like, you guys need to sort it out. You guys need to address it. You guys need to really get in there because it's still a sore subject. And we'll talk about why I think it's still a sore subject in a second. But let's move on to Russell and Kobe for a second. So they went to a ropes course. Now, you know, these people are fit. They love to be fit. They are very active. So I was like, girl, you guys are climbing up in the air. Looks really interesting. Would I do it? Nah, I will not be doing such. No. And this is someone who is adventurous. I'm thinking like, how am I finna be hanging on a rope? Like, how is that gonna work? Like holding the rope? Yeah, nah, I don't think that's gonna work for me. I don't think it is. So they start talking about divinity school and how, so Kobe was basically telling Russell the parents' perspective and how they were pretty much on his side and how they were able to give some sort of context that maybe he was scared to tell her because of her reaction. Now, I would have agreed with that initially, but looking at the whole thing in context, I don't think that was what it was. I think he just does things and does not communicate with his wife until it's done. Okay? So don't let them manipulate you, Kobe, into believing that. Okay? And so they start talking. Russell alludes to wanting to be a pastor. Kobe was like, wait. Are you trying to be a pastor? I thought you said chaplain. He's like, oh yeah, chaplain. And so she's like, I can't be a first lady, blah, blah, blah. And he just smiles. He's like, you know, he'll come, at the moment is chaplain. Kobe, let me be honest with you, girl. I have a feeling that Russell is not trying to be a chaplain. He's trying to be a pastor. Take it from me, honey. He's trying to be a pastor. That is the goal for this man. Because if it wasn't, it wouldn't have come out of his mouth to begin with. Right? And I feel like he's telling you in bits because he said, oh, for now. For now means chaplain for now, honey. It ain't gonna be forever. It's given chaplain for now. Ease you into it and then pastor, honey. So prepare yourself. Brace yourself for impact, honey. This man is trying to be a pastor, in my opinion. Okay? Not saying it's the truth, in my opinion. Let me know what you guys thought. Am I the only one that thought this man is trying to be a pastor and not a chaplain? Let me know in the comment section below. I'm just very curious as to what you guys think. So let me know in the comment section below. Now, finally, let's talk about Latoya and Anthony again, honey. They were hanging out with their friends, Tracy and Tim, actually, on a boat. So I was like, okay, this is nice. They were talking about like Detroit being beautiful. I'm like, all right, you bet. I've never been to Detroit, so I don't know. You guys let me know whether Detroit is really as cute as they're trying to make it seem. So anyways, Latoya then brought up the fact that Anthony went to Atlanta. I'm like, oh my God. This conversation about Atlanta is never going to end, is it? It is never going to end, is it? Now, during this conversation, Latoya alluded to the fact that he packed his things and just left, which gives me the impression this man had talked to her about it before, but did not tell her specifically the day he was leaving. And just on the day, got his stuff and just left. Now, that is a problem, sir. That is a problem. I don't care what is it, what opportunity you got. It is disrespectful to pack up your things like that without a heads up and leave if that's what you did. So we need some more context. They need to stop walking around the subject and keep bringing it up and avoiding the actual details. We need the details, honey. What exactly happened? Did he tell you beforehand and then not tell you when the day he was leaving? Like, I'm trying to understand. You guys make me understand. Make it clear, honey. Like, make it clear. So Anthony then talked about how he felt like it was a missed opportunity and that, things are still very, very raw. And I'm like, this is the thing. This is what I'm saying. LaToya hates every time he brings up Atlanta. She resents him for leaving her to go to Atlanta because that's how she sees it. I'm not saying that's what he did. And then he resents her for him losing this huge, massive opportunity in Atlanta. I wish they could have found a middle ground that worked for both of them. I.e., maybe live somewhere else that isn't Atlanta, somewhere that isn't too far from Detroit. Come through a couple of times in a week, and still something like that. Because I don't know, for me, I'm always very iffy about making decisions or saying things like, no, you can't do something, especially when I know it is something that will move you forward, because I know how I am about what I'm trying to achieve and my accomplishments and my goals. And if I felt like someone was hindering that, I personally think I can relate to me feeling some type of way about it. And I would always see it as a missed opportunity, which would always bring some sort of ill feeling that I don't like and I don't want. And so for that reason, like when it is something that I feel like my partner or someone I'm interested in is passionate about, I tend to just be like, I'm gonna support you. However, let's try to find a compromise that works. Let's find a middle ground that works for both of us. That's just in my opinion. So then Anthony starts going off and crying and talking about how he felt like they were her parents and everyone was making him feel like he was a deadbeat that left his family and blah, blah, blah. And that is not the case. And that all he wanted was support. And this is so sad and raw because the thing is, he feels like all he needed from her then was support. But she didn't support him. Instead, she insisted on him coming back. So I think that would be a sore subject in their marriage for a while if they do not try to get the tools to fix it, to have the open and honest conversation, to forgive each other. Because the thing is, LaToya has a grudge because she felt left alone. He has a grudge because he felt that he missed this opportunity because of LaToya. And so they both need to apologize to each other. They both need to forgive each other for that and stop holding that against the other for their marriage to actually thrive. So that's all I have to say today. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys thought of this episode. And yeah, like overall, the episode was decent. Yes, like I'm liking Love and Marriage Detroit so far. Of course, I hate the fact that it seems so parallel to Love and Marriage Huntsville, and it seems like there isn't any solid couple on the show. But yeah, I'm going to keep watching. I'm going to keep reviewing. So thank you very much for coming this way and listening to this to the end. Please give this video a thumbs up if you haven't already. Make sure you subscribe and tap that bell for notifications so you see every single time that I post. I talk about celebrity news. I talk about reality TV shows and my comments, my feedback on and opinions on everything, honey. So make sure you subscribe and I'll see you guys later. Bye.